She goes boom. She don't fuck with me, no, but she don't really wanna wait and see. She goes boom. She don't fuck with me, no, but she don't really wanna wait and see.
Hello, how are you guys doing? This is XDefiant, a game that came out just the other day, and I wouldn't say that I sunk my teeth into it, as I've only played maybe 3 or 4 games, and the games that you're about to see are game 1 and 2, but I've played enough to, I guess, have a little bit of an opinion, or at least a first impression. As a guy who doesn't really play that much Call of Duty and more Warzone, if anything else, I wanted to really play what a lot of the clickbaiters were calling the COD killer, and seeing, how this relates to my very minimal COD experience. And so far, the game is not terrible, but there is indeed a quote that this game really reminds me of. I'd like to live like a poor man, only with lots of money. And that was by Pablo Picasso. And I thought this quote made a lot of sense when it came to this game, because while it certainly has the look and feel like a AAA game, there's a lot of just poor qualities to this game that has me a little hesitant. One thing that really has me double taking on the clunkiness of the game is actually the movement mechanics. They don't really flow very well. When you play games like Apex, even the finals, Call of Duty with the OG slide canceling and all of that, going to this game feels really odd. And now I know I've always made critiques on Call of Duty for its lack of ingenuity after a while and getting rid of things like slide canceling, especially with Warzone going through its different transitions, but I never had an issue with the movement. It always felt pretty smooth going from slides to jumps, and Apex, that's not even a question. And even the finals, you've got some interesting momentum, things you can do, and the slide mechanics were smooth. In this game, it feels kind of jittery. And eventually it made me even play super passive. Like, I was still running around and shooting, but I'll stand still actually, because this game just didn't have the movement quality and smoothness that I was really expecting from the so-called Call of Duty killer moniker, right? I was like, well, if you're gonna try to be the COD killer, you might as well do the movement at the very least at the same level as COD, but no, it's just very clunky. The gunplay does actually feel pretty smooth. I understand that, I was dealt the hand with all level 1 guns, so it does follow that Call of Duty model, which isn't bad. I do think that, just giving something players to play for is a good thing, with achievements and better attachments, etc. So I can't really say anything with that. I will say, however, that level 1 guns actually do feel really good in this game, which is a huge positive in my opinion, because if your game can feel good at its worst, then you're doing something right. I think they went for a hit scan more than projectile for their weapons, which is nice because it feels crisp when you're hitting the shots. Whether it's also the sound design or the little click-clacks that come along with it, whenever you hit a shot, it actually feels good. Which I understand is the equivalent to IGN saying that you feel like Batman or you feel like you're Spider-Man. But it's really hard to put into words when something feels good. But yeah, the gunplay is crisp. I like the way the sound design goes, and popping heads feels just as good as some of the best of them. So that's always a positive. And so let's go kind of into the gimmicks, right? They've got powers, and while it's not as crazy and cool as Apex and Overwatch, it's still in the game. Fire bombs, I guess. I'm trying to think of the others that I remember. Invisibility. So very fun, gimmicky powers that I think they were trying to sort of mesh the Overwatch, Apex, Valorant designs of characters with the more quote-unquote realistic gameplay of Battlefield and Call of Duty, and it's handled not bad. But if I have to be completely honest, it feels almost like a half-assed version of both. So you're kind of playing an amalgamation of a decent Call of Duty game along with an average Apex, Overwatch, Valorant game, which I understand that they span a lot of different types of FPS genre, but The powers don't really feel great. If anything, they feel like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Not like you're super powered, but it really just feels like an item that you kind of haphazardly toss, which is fine, but it makes for sort of an inconsistent feeling gaming experience where it's not quite Apex, but it's not quite Call of Duty, and you're left feeling a bit 50-50. I will be kind of curious how this game improves over the times, and I think that they're onto something by combining multiple different types of FPS genres together. I just don't think it was done with the right amount of finesse, not yet. So first impressions, I think the gameplay feels solid, at least the gunplay does. I think the movement is clunky, and rather than feeling like the best of both worlds, this game feels like half-assed Call of Duty and half-assed Apex. That being said, I don't think that this game is strictly in the gutter. I still think it's a solid game that the subsequent updates will really define how we view this game going forward, if they decide to go more wacky with it, if they decide to make the gameplay a little more smooth. It'll really define in the upcoming months just what XDefiant really is rather than a half-burnt clone. That being said, thank you guys for the support as usual. Have a good day, good night, and I hope you guys have a fantastic week in general. Peace, peace.